Okay, so it's been, how long do you think it's been? Two and a half hours, something like that?
Right.
So we turned the tenon, on this, and here, come on over here and look. You don't need to be looking at the wall over there. I should have took this off beforehand. She can speed it up. All right, so we turned the tenon, right? We got the tenon to our outside diameter that we needed, not the one that's on the print, the one we needed. And then we threaded it, and the tenon was long also, right? So we threaded it, it was long, and got our receiver to go on. All right, so I'll hurry up and thread this back on there. And because the tenon was long, we actually ran it, about 10 thou long, right? We ran it about 10 thou longer than what the print said. So when you go to put the bolt in, you realize because the tenon is long, the bolt won't go down. And the reason is because the face of the bolt, the nose of the bolt is hitting the back of the tenon. In other words, it's the end of the barrel, like this, right? So it won't go down. And so what you do then to get it to fall is back the receiver off until the bolt falls. Look at your gap, whatever gap you have between the barrel and the face of the receiver. Put a feeler gauge in there and get a rough measurement. It was what we had, like 11 thousandths.
We had 11 thousandths. Yep.
Right. So we had 11 thou to go. Now what I like to do is I like to creep up on it a little bit. So I measured it. I took the receiver back off, brought the tool in, and we took like what, 5, I think, the first time. We took like 5 thousandths off, and then we put it back together, put the bolt back in, and of course the bolt handle wouldn't drop. Vicki, you need to be looking over here. The bolt handle wouldn't drop, and so, we've like, okay, how much more do we have to go? Maybe 6 more. So we took it back apart, went in, made another cut, took 2 or 3. What we did is we kept making smaller and smaller cuts until we got down to, I guessed, there was about 1.1 and 2 10 thousandths, and we actually went 1 and 4, right? Yep. And the bolt dropped. And now what was interesting is I had Jason put the bolt in here and see if he could feel it, right? If he could feel it, and he couldn't feel that. But I could feel what I believe was 2 10 thousandths. Then what we did is, because the bolt would drop, what we did is we went back and took 6.2 more. Yep. So what we believe right now is that we have 6.5 thou clearance between the back of the barrel and the leading edge of the bolt. And so we've got all that done. And of course you bring it up now and you see, get over here, Vicki. You can feel this, right? You can see it, but you can feel it also. And of course I've done so many of these that I don't even need to measure it. I know that that's where we want to go. So now we've got this all is completely done. By the way, this is a non-fluted barrel, so we didn't, and it's very straight, by the way. So we didn't do any indexing. It's no big deal. We're good here. Our shoulder's good. Our threads are good. Our tenon length is good. So the very next thing now to do is start chambering, and that's what I'm going to show them next. Now, if you have anything you want to add to this from what you just spent the last 2 or 3 hours learning, you're more than welcome.
It's amazing to me with as many as he's done to be able to feel the 2 thousandths, 2 10 thousandths, right? I can't feel it. I couldn't feel it at all. But there's a lot more to this than me not feeling that gap. Like there's the vibration, there's the gap in there that as that vibration happens, and as you've explained, if it smacks that bolt, that's a problem.
No, if the bolt nose touches the back of the barrel, the gun will not shoot. Right. Now we say it won't shoot. What we mean is won't shoot to its potential. And as I told Jason, I've had people bring expensive custom rifles here, it doesn't shoot, and they can't figure out why it doesn't shoot. And after I've gone over a big checklist, I've actually shined a flashlight down inside there and saw the imprint of this imprint on the back of the barrel. In other words, the barrel is literally smacking into that. And again, we were just talking about this. You got to realize that the barrel and indeed the receiver, when the cartridge goes off, it expands radially, it expands longitudinally, lengthwise. And so if you have this right up against the back of that barrel and the barrel smacks into it, or this smacks into that, it doesn't do anything good for accuracy or barrel harmonics. So that's where we're at, and the next thing is to chamber, right? Yep. So that's what we're doing next. We've been at this 2.5 days now, and we're just getting to chambering. So if you wonder why it takes so long, this is why. All right, see you later. Okay, it is 5:30. We've been here for most of the day. We had to take a break for a minute, but we're back. We've been chambering. We are within approximately 10 thou of actually being finished chambering. So, but inevitably, what always came up again, and we want to show you this. So you need to bring that camera over here. So this just happens to be a belt gauge Go. It's a PTG. My God, this is from '09. So I've had this belt gauge forever. So watch. Get over here. So put it in there. Stand on the other side of me to be better. Put it in there, right? Back the receiver off a little bit. Watch that. Hear it? It's not the whole way in. That's one thing when you're working with a belt gauge. You have to make sure that it's seated in the belt recess in the chamber in there. So you'll hear the extractor go over that, right? Now, just take the receiver and draw it up. Now the handle's tight, okay? So if you understand what I'm doing here, back it off, the handle will lift. Turn it tight, the handle's tight now. So the face of this bolt is jammed up against the back of the headspace gauge, and this right here is how much more that we have to go. Now, I doubt you can see that, but there's a gap between the barrel and the face of the receiver. So that's how much we have to go, and that's what we want to show. All right, so look at this. And we did this, and then we decided, well, we better show this. So you see these, what's out here? This is the discrepancy. All right, so look, with that headspace gauge in there, a 10 will go. And I'm not even going to bother to show you. An 11 will not. So a 10 will go, right? And it's actually about 10.5 with that headspace gauge. All right, so watch this. All right, turn that. Back it off. So watch what I'm going to do. You have to follow along. So I'm going to set this one over here. This says 300 Win Mag Go on it, PTG 08 is what this says. All right, watch this one. Put it in there. Do the same thing. Oh, doesn't want to seat. Okay, now get that to go up in there. All right, now do the same thing. Bring it around. Now the handle, it's tight, right? Okay. Okay, so see if with the 10 will go. The 10 will go. Was this the smaller of the two?
This was I thought the 10
or the bigger of the
10.5 to 11,000.
Okay, right. All right, so I better get the 11 back out too then. So here's 11. You just have to take my word for it. So see, 11 will almost go. 10 goes easily. So there's about approximately somewhere between 0.5 thou and 1 thou difference between those headspace gauges, approximately, right?
Right.
Okay, now, so I'm going to set this here. Now, we're going to start down through here. So this is a piece of Norma 300 Win Mag brass. And by the way, this gun, we decided to go with a 339 neck in here. So this will take factory brass. In other words, it doesn't have to be turned. All right, so watch this. Put that up in there. Again, turn it, snap it over. Tighten it. Okay, till there's resistance on the bolt, right? Everything's covered with oil. All right, so here we go. So an 11 wouldn't begin to go. A 10 will not go. A 9 will not go. Where's 8? Okay. Got to keep these in order here. This is an 8, okay? An 8 will not go. Here. Here's a 7. Look, 7 is almost starting. Here's a 6. 6, you can almost get 6 to go in. 5 will go in. 5 drops in. 6, it won't quite go. Here, let me try one more time. This is hard to do, by the way. All right, so it's same deal. It's somewhere between 5 and 6. You kind of keep track of this,
Right,
okay?
right.
All right, so, and I'm going to lay them down in order. All right, so that'll go there. Now, this is a Norma. It says 300 Win Mag. Okay, put that one in. Now close it. By the way, see, we can tell by how far around it rotates. We actually thought about putting marks on here, put an index mark for each different case so you could visually see it, but everything's covered with oil. All right, so here we go. 11 will not go. 10 will not go. 9 will not go. 8 will not go. Oh, wait, that was 7. 7 will not go. 6 will go. 6 will go. Let me see if 7 will go again. Nope, 7 will not go. So same deal. That's somewhere between 6 and 6.5. Somewhere like that. Get that out of there. Okay. Well, actually, I'm going in order that I'm picking them up, okay?
All right.
So, all right, this is also a Norma. This is a 300 Winchester Norma. All right. Okay, 11 will not go. 10 will not go. 9 won't go. 8 won't go. 7 will almost go. Let's see. 6 will go. So actually, those two pieces of brass are fairly close together. I mean, that's pretty close. All right. So now this is Federal, 300 Winchester Federal. Okay. Now, I know not to even start there, but here, let's start the other way. So a 3 will go. A 4 goes fairly tightly. A 5 won't go. Here, let me say that again. Yeah, 4 will go, 5 won't go. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, now this is a, what's it say? Does that say Winchester? Is that WW? Yeah, it is. It's Winchester. It's hard to see.
I know.
Okay. So that's Winchester. Close it up. Okay, I'll start back at 11, but I know 11's, okay, 11 won't go. 10 won't go. 9 won't go. 8 won't go. 7 won't go. 6 won't go. Here, I want to see something. 6 won't go. 5 won't go. 4 won't go. 3 will go. So it's a 3. That was, when we did this, I might as well go ahead and do the last two, but
these are the
that was
Lapua.
the smallest one when we did it before,
Correct.
wasn't it?
That's correct.
All right, so what's this? This is Lapua?
Yeah.
Lapua?
Lapua.
All right. Okay. Close that.
I believe these were 5.
All right, well, I'll start then at 3. 3 will go. 4 will go. 5. 5, wait, let's try it in another spot. 5 almost goes. So it's 4 and almost 5. Okay, so there's no reason, because that other Lapua
the
case
same
was
way.
very similar, right?
Correct.
All right, so, and now, this is a rhetorical question, kind of, and this is what I said to Jason. I said, okay, we have 10 thou more to go by the headspace gauge, but we have a range in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in 7, in two headspace gauges and 7 pieces of brass, we have a range from
10 to 3.
11, well, actually 11.
That's right, because it was 10
Right,
and a half.
all right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we have a range of 11,000 down to 3,000. So you help me explain this to them, because I know people don't understand this. So if we chambered it to the smallest piece of brass, say the one that only needed a 3, that means is all the other ones would not go in the gun.
Right.
You understand? But what that also means is the one that needs a 3, if it was that piece of brass, that would be the one most optimum for that piece of brass, right? Now, let's say we did it the opposite. Say we did it at the other end. We gave it 11, right? We took 11 out of there. What that means is that piece of brass that only needed 3 is going to be 8 thou. 8 thou headspace on that short piece of brass.
Right.
So, you know, this is something that guys that build precision guns face all the time. And so,
But what that means is every factory load will fit, right?
right, in other words,
Everything
right,
fits.
if we chambered it for the 11, in other words, the big one, we'll use our analogy again. If we chamber it for an 11 size shoe, all 9 size feet will fit in it. They would all fit in, but they're going to have a ton of slop, just like as it was too big a shoe, right? If we chamber it though for the tight one, then what happens is physically the big ones will not go in it. They just won't go, right? So there's nothing you can do. So, you know, and I ask him, because he's never done this before, he's never saw this before. Most people do not know that it's not a problem. It's just this aspect of chambering guns. They don't even know it exists. Right. Most guys think that it says 300 Winchester on the side of the barrel, and so it just takes all 300 Winchester. And if it's a factory gun, it does. But you explained, how do they do that? They do that by putting the big chamber in it. Right. In other words, they chamber size 13 boot for everybody. It doesn't matter, right?
The only way they guarantee that every bullet will fit in with every cartridge
is to give it so much slop that they all will fit in.
Right.
But as soon as you do that, you've given up a bunch of accuracy. Plus, it's really, that's most headspace gauges. See, he asked me about this too. He said, are those go or no go? And I just kind of laughed and said, I only own go. I don't own no go. No go gauges are for people that's chambering the whole way up to no go. In other words, even my go gauges are bigger, obviously bigger than that brass. Right. So let's just say that you want a chamber that has, let's just say, we'll be conservative. Let's say 2 thousandths over the actual brass. Well, what that means is you have to chamber the gun to the brass you're going to use. And then you better have enough. And so I just got done chambering that. There's a 6XC over on the bench right there, and we just got done chambering that a couple days ago. And whenever we were getting ready to do it with 6XC, there happens to be really two choices. There's 6XC Norma and there's 6XC Peterson, right? And so I had already chambered some guns in the Norma, but I had not chambered in Peterson. And I said to the customer, I don't know if I said, what do you want to use? Or we said what was available. I can't remember. But I said to him, buy more than 100. Don't buy 100 pieces of brass. Because if we're going to chamber to the brass, and that's a bench rest gun, if we're going to chamber to the brass, you better have a lot of that brass. Because there's a very, very good chance that the next batch might not go in the gun. Or it could be, that's the thing, it could be too tight to go in, or it might be too small.
And it could be such as what we just encountered through the COVID. What was available? Every shelf emptied out, and what was available, right?
So the deal is, if you're going to build a custom gun and you're thinking ahead, especially if it's going to be for competition type cartridges, have the brass on hand before you start. Plus, make sure I get some of it, because that way I can build the gun to the brass. Now, a lot of people will say, well, just build it to the headspace gauge. And yes, you can do that. And by doing that, it will accept everything. But you just have to understand that typical belted headspace gauge, any headspace gauge really, if you just get SAMI spec anything, it's going to be big. It's going to be a lot bigger than it needs to be. And so now, of course, the question is, what are we going to do? And he wants to shoot factory ammo. And the deal is, he wants to be able to shoot all different kinds of factory ammo, whatever's available. So we are probably, of these two headspace gauges, the one is slightly smaller than the other. We are probably going to chamber it to the smaller of the two headspace gauges. But what that means is, all this stuff will be
available to work.
It'll all work, yes, but it also means that it's going to be sloppy in there.
Sure.
And in fact, I got off track there. The difference between most go and no-go gauges is like 4 thou, 5 thou. I don't know. Some might even be 6 thou. But what that would mean is, if we chamber to this headspace gauge and we would happen to have this piece of brass,
which is Winchester,
right, it would be excessive headspace.
7 thousandths over.
Right. Instead of 4, it'd be 7 thousandths over. Oh, and so too, I think we talked about this a little bit before. So we were talking about belts versus non-belts. And again, he's never saw a gun being chambered. So everybody says, oh, the advantage is to the non-belted. Well, we were just chambering, and I was explaining to him, when you're chambering, the advantage is to the belted cartridge for a lot of different reasons. You can visually see it. When it starts to cut the belt, you can look at it and say how big the belt is. The other thing is, when you put that in there, it stops on the belt. A
beltless.
When you're doing it on the shoulder, there definitely can be crush. Right. I could easily, with a cartridge that headspaces off the shoulder, I could crush 1 or 2. Right. So you don't know exactly where it really is. With these belts, there's no doubt. Once it hits that belt, that's it. It doesn't move. So we could talk more about that, but we don't have time. We're actually going to try to get this gun done, the chambering part done tonight. So see you later.